New Delhi, AP, Dhananjaya de Silva scored 72 in an unbeaten 84-run partnership with Dinesh Chandimal. Sri Lanka reached 119-4 at lunch on Wednesday, needing to survive 2 more sessions to draw the third test. Still 291 runs behind, Sri Lanka's hopes of a series-leveling win here on day 5 were remote. Starting from overnight at 31-3, Sri Lanka made good progress with 74 runs in the morning session despite losing first-inning century maker Angelo Matthews, 1, who was caught at slip-off of Jadeja, 3-25. Chandimal, unbeaten on 27, is hoping to repeat his first innings effort where he batted for more than a day, amid air pollution at hazardous levels, to post his 10th Test century and ensure Sri Lanka avoided the follow-on. India has been in control of the third Test since posting 536-7 declared in the first innings, when Virat Kohli scored 243 for his 6th double century as captain. India leads the 3-match series 1-0 after winning in Nagpur Test by an innings and 239 runs. The first Test in Kolkata was drawn. Week 13 is typically the last regular season game in most season-long fantasy football leagues, so you'll want to give a lot of thought before submitting your lineups. If you're fighting for a playoff spot, our advice is to go with the players that got you there, but unexpected injuries and suspensions may not always make that possible. Start in quarterback. Phillip Rivers, Los Angeles Chargers vs. Cleveland. Rivers has 7 TDs and 1 interception in his last 3 games. He's averaged 340 passing yards, thrown 5 TDs and just 1 interception in his last 2 games against the Browns. The Browns have given up the 2nd most points per game this season. Case Keenum, Minnesota at Atlanta. Keenum has at least 280 passing yards in 4 straight games, and has thrown multiple TDs in 3 of those 4 contests. The Vikings have scored over 31 points per game during that span. The Falcons are dealing with injuries in their secondary, including their top cornerback, Desmond Trufant, who is in the league's concussion protocol. Running back, Kenyon Drake, Miami vs. Denver. Overall, the Broncos have been tough against the run, but they've given up the 2nd most fantasy points per game, FPPG, to Airbase over the past month. Drake will have the Miami backfield all to himself with Damian Williams sidelined, and has scored double-digit fantasy points in 3 of his last 4 games in point per reception, PPR, scoring formats. Alex Collins, Dallas vs. LA Chargers. Collins has emerged as the Ravens' primary early down back and has scored double-digit FPPG and PPR formats in 3 of his last 4 games. He's scored TDs in 2 straight games and faces the Lions, who've given up just under 5 yards per carry, YPC, and the 4th most FPPG to Airbase over the past month. Marshawn Lynch, Oakland vs. NY Giants. Lynch carried the ball a season-high 26 times in Week 12, and with injuries and suspensions limiting the Raiders' passing game, he may get another heavy workload. He's scored double-digit fantasy points in 2 of the last 3 weeks. Wide receiver Jamison Crowder, Washington at Dallas. Crowder is averaging 10 targets, 7 catches and 103 receiving yards over his past 4 games. The Cowboys have given up 6 TDs to WRs over the past month. Robbie Anderson. New York Jets vs. Kansas City. Anderson has scored at least 1 TD in 5 consecutive games. Former standout cornerback Darrelle Revis will make his debut for the Chiefs, however he's well past his prime. Anderson should still feast against a Chiefs secondary that's given up the most TDs and 3rd most FPPG to WRs. Marquise Goodwin, San Francisco at Chicago. Goodwin could be a sleeper with Jimmy Garoppolo making his first start at QB for the 49ers this week. He leads NFL receivers with 21.4 yards per reception and has scored double-digit fantasy points in 2 straight weeks in PPR scoring formats. The Bears have given up the 5th most FPPG to WRs over the past 4 weeks. Tight end Jared Cook, Oakland vs. NY Giants. With WR Michael Crabtree serving his 1-game suspension and Amari Cooper almost certainly out this week due to a concussion and sprained ankle, Cook should see an increase in targets. He has a great matchup against the Giants, whose issues with defending against Tace has been well documented. Julius Thomas, Miami vs. Denver. Thomas has seen an uptick in targets over the past 4 weeks, and faces a Broncos team that has given up the 4th most FPPG to Tace, as well as 4 TDs in their last 5 games to the position. Sitting quarterback Derek Carr, Oakland vs. NY Giants. Carr has scored the 22nd fewest fantasy points overall over the past 4 weeks. Things won't get any easier for him as Michael Crabtree will be forced to serve his 1-game suspension, and Amari Cooper will also likely be out due to injuries. The Giants have given up the 2nd most FPPG to QBs, but the Raiders may be forced to lean on their running game this week. Dak Prescott, Dallas vs. Washington. Prescott and the Dallas offense have slumped miserably over the past 3 weeks. The Cowboys have scored a total of 22 points, Prescott has been sacked 16 times, and he's thrown 5 interceptions and no TDs during that span. In addition, Prescott has averaged 169 passing yards in his last 2 games against Washington. Running back DeMarco Murray, Tennessee vs. Houston. Murray has averaged 2.5 yards per carry, YPC, over his past 6 games and hasn't rushed for 100 yards in a game since week 3. The Texans have given up just 5 rushing TDs, 2nd fewest in the NFL. Amir Abdullah, Detroit at Baltimore. Abdullah has averaged just under 10 carries per game over the past 3 weeks, and is averaging 2. YPC over the past 5 weeks. The Ravens are giving up the third fewest FPPG to Airbase over the past month. Wide receiver. T.Y. Hilton, Indianapolis at Jacksonville. Hilton has 3 or fewer receptions in 7 of 11 games this season. The Jaguars have given up the fewest receptions, receiving yards, TDs, and not surprisingly, the fewest FPPG to WRs. Des Bryant, Dallas vs. Washington. Bryant was held to just 4 catches and 39 receiving yards against Washington earlier this season. He hasn't caught a TD in 5 straight games, and is averaging just 5 catches and 50 yards during that span. Washington has given up the 6th fewest FPPG to WR''S. Tight end. Cameron Brate, Tampa Bay at Green Bay. Brate has just 1 reception in each of his last 4 games, and takes on the Packers, who've given up the fewest FPPG to Tays. Arlington, Texas, AP, Dak Prescott and the Dallas Cowboys had to abandon any realistic hope of defending their NFC East title while losing 3 straight games without suspended star running back Ezekiel Elliott. A 4th straight defeat when Washington visits Thursday night would hand the crown to Philadelphia, with the Eagles still having 5 games left. Even if they find a way to win that last year's NFL rushing leader, the Cowboys carry faint playoff hopes at best, along with the team that shares 2nd place in the division at 5-6, the Redskins. "It's frustrating, it's shocking," Prescott said. "You look around and you see the Pro Bowlers and the talent you have, it's almost a loss for words on why it's happening. But it just shows you this game is tough." Made even tougher without Elliott, who was moving up the rushing list again during a 3-game winning streak when he finally ran out of legal options to avoid the 6-game suspension for alleged domestic violence. The Cowboys haven't had 300 yards in a game since then, the longest such stretch since the last 4 games in 2002. "I'm sure it has a little bit to do with it," Redskins coach Jay Gruden said, "but they've had some issues. When you lose a game, you can't finger point the offensive side of the ball." The absence of 2016 All-Pro linebacker Sean Lee because of a hamstring injury hasn't helped, with the Cowboys getting outscored 72-6 in the second half on the current losing streak. Lee has been ruled out for the 3rd straight game. It's been more about the volume of injuries for Washington, which has 15 players on injured reserve and was eliminated in the division race in Week 12 despite beating the New York Giants. Three starters have been ruled out against the Cowboys: tight end Jordan Reed, hamstring; center Chase Ruyer, hand; and safety Monty Nicholson, concussion. A key reserve, Former Dallas defensive lineman Terrell McClain will sit with a toe injury. You take away all the dust and the smoke and everything else that people really say about this team, and you see what type of fighters and guys we get off the street and come in and play and still win games. It's pretty great, said cornerback Josh Norman, set for another showdown with struggling Dallas receiver Dez Bryant. Some things to consider with the Cowboys seeking to make the rival Redskins the first team they've beaten 70 times. A line juggle. Redskins left tackle Trent Williams is questionable with a right knee injury that will require surgery and has kept him out of 3 of the past 5 games. He knows he won't be playing left guard for the injured Sean Lauvau because 6'8" backup tackle Tyan Secchi is moving there. I can't remember a time in my career where I look down and the left guard is towering over me, the 6'5" Williams said. Secondary shuffle. The Cowboys are making changes among their defensive backs after giving up a season-high 434 yards passing to Philip Rivers of the LA Chargers. Rookie second-round pick Chidobe Awuzie, hampered most of the season by hamstring injuries, has been running with the first team and is expected to take snaps from second-year man Anthony Brown. Another rookie, Xavier Woods, could see more time at safety. Crowder time. Redskins quarterback Kirk Cousins has spread the ball around a lot this season, completing passes to 15 players, but receiver Jamison Crowder is his favorite option. Crowder is coming off his best game of the season with 7 catches for 141 yards and a touchdown. Sometimes he gets lost in the mix, but now he is becoming a feature-type guy, Gruden said. Behind Morris, Alfred Morris has been the lead back filling in for Elliott, who is out 3 more games. The Cowboys eliminated any remaining doubt about Rod Smith as the next choice when they released Aaron McFadden 3 days after Smith scored his first career touchdown. Trey Williams came up from the practice squad and could be active against the Redskins. Simple plan. Linebacker Zach Brown said the Redskins have only watched film of Dallas without Elliott because Morris is such a different back. They will follow what Atlanta, Philadelphia and the Chargers did. They're not having any more big, explosive run plays, Brown said. Now everybody's forcing them to pass the ball. Now for our game, we're going to force them to pass the ball, too. Flowery Branch, Georgia. AP, Falcons running back Devontae Freeman has cleared the concussion protocol after missing 2 games and could return for Sunday's game against the Minnesota Vikings. Coach Dan Quinn said Wednesday Freeman has full clearance to practice with no limitations. Freeman, the league's highest paid running back, has suffered 2 concussions this year and 3 in 3 years. He said he discussed the concussions with a doctor and isn't worried about his future. "It's not something I'm worried about for the rest of my life," Freeman said. "If anything is going to happen, it's going to happen." "You can't live and dwell on what happened in the past. You just move forward." Freeman suffered a concussion on the second play of a win over Dallas on November. Tevin Coleman started in wins over Seattle and Tampa Bay. Freeman also spent the last 2 weeks of the preseason in concussion protocol. He missed one game after suffering a concussion against the Colts on November 22, 2015. He said he accepts the risk of concussions. "I know what I signed up for," Freeman said. "It's a gladiator sport. You just have to be aware of everything that can happen because it can happen at any time." Freeman added, "Concussions are part of football. You're going to get concussions," he said. "Hey, if it happens again, it happens again. I'm a competitor. I'm a dog. I'm still going to try to be the same free. I'm going to work the same way. Nothing is going to change," Freeman said. "Through more education on concussions, he is doing it the smart way and protecting myself for longevity." Vikings coach Mike Zimmer said Wednesday it is just another pain in our rear end for his defense to prepare for both Freeman and Coleman. "They've both got a little different styles, so part of it is knowing who is in the game," Zimmer said. "Freeman is explosive, great stop and start guy. Runs physically with his pads. Looks like he's got great vision. Coleman is a speed guy. I've been impressed with the way he's run the ball between the tackles. And they both catch the ball well out of the backfield." He said he expects to have fresher legs after missing 2 games. "Definitely. I feel anybody who gets that time off, especially in the middle of the season, you're going to be fresher than the other guys," he said. "It's a blessing in disguise. I'm just going to take it and run with it." Quinn said the team wants to protect Freeman's long-term health. "Yeah, from a medical side that was something we discussed from this year," Quinn said. "He had 2 this year, 1 from training camp and 1 from 3 weeks ago. We're going to always take great care of our guys. We care about them on the field, off the field." Quinn said. "We totally trust team doctors to monitor the concussion protocol and determine when a player is ready to return." Falcons cornerback Desmond Trufant is in concussion protocol after leaving last week's win over Tampa Bay following a collision with teammate Keanu Neal. Freeman negotiated a 5-year, $41.25 contract extension before the season that makes him the league's highest paid running back in terms of the overall package.